Ted O'Brien, welcome.
Great to be here.
Well, we're now at the halfway point of this economic reform roundtable. You've been in the room for the past 1.5 days. Are there any good ideas that you've heard being canvassed?
Well, we're at the halfway point, but it did take the government 3 years to realise there's an issue with living standards, and then it took them 3 months to organise a 3-day discussion. And we're halfway through that. Look, I would say I'm seeing the outcomes here sort of almost in 2 or 3 parts. There's been a lot of discussion around the need to have fewer and better regulations. And I think at a high level, everybody's saying, yeah, we definitely do need to. We're way too regulated in this country. The last term of government saw, around about 5,000 additional regulations, and that needs to be dealt with. And so lots of ideas, which I won't run through in detail now, came from all different directions as to what types of regulations, who could look at solving it, the relationships with the states, all these sort of things. Now, my view on that is, yes, there needs to be fewer and better regulations, but there needs to be specific time-bound targets on the government to deliver. That's going to be the key, I believe. That's my instinct.
Are you getting the sense that that is what's going to come out of this summit, that there will be kind of a plan to go forward with a plan?
I don't know, but I've made my view very clear. That's what I think the government should be doing. So it's not just this high-level thing like, oh, yeah, we're going to look at regulation, because we know nothing will really happen. If you really want to move the dial, they need to be very specific, and they need to set targets, and those targets need to be time-bound.
It's easy to say in the general, isn't it? Let's reduce red tape. It's much harder, as you say, in the specifics to do it. Isn't that what this process is about? Are you hearing in the room specific ideas of where regulation can be reduced?
We are.
So is it a worthwhile process?
Well, David, to be honest, if that's all we're here for, not really. I mean, you don't have a 3-day with all the hoo-ha around this summit if it's just talking regulation. I mean, that is...
So this is not been a worthwhile process?
The regulation part is very important, but it's sort of business as usual, really, for a government, right? Now, the second part I'll probably mention, which was a lot of the discussion today, was housing. And I think we all know the problem that the government's had with trying to deliver on its 1.2 million houses. It's just not happening. And I think they recognise that. Where there's agreement in the room, it's the key challenge being supply, supply, supply. So that's good. In terms of the key issues that came up in housing, there was probably the most concrete one was freezing the construction code, given that's a coalition policy at the last election. Without getting ahead of my colleagues, on an in-principle level, that sounds good. Let's wait to see what the detail is from the government. The second area really was reform of the EPBCA, so yes. Environmental law.
Where are you at on that? I was going to ask you this because government tried in the last term, it's trying again. It wants to have an EPA, an Environment Protection Authority. You guys resisted that in the last term. Are you now open to the idea of an EPA?
Well, I'm less inclined to commit, David, today as to where we stand on the EPA, because it depends on what Labor brings forward. What I can say, though, is we are absolutely willing to be as constructive as we can. And so if we can work together, let's work together.
So there is some openness now?
There's certainly openness to be dealing with trying to fix the environmental laws. There's no doubt about that.
Including an EPA?
Again, we're not saying, here's a red line at all. So we'll be open, constructive where we can, critical where we must on housing. I think that the third area that keeps coming up is energy. And here I do have a concern. And I believe that and this is principally the fault of the government, that they are defining the wrong problem to solve. So all the discussion is, the problem to solve is we need to achieve this 82% renewables on the grid. It's all about how do we accelerate the rollout of the existing energy plan. And I have a problem with that, because this is meant to be a productivity summit and everything was meant to be on the table. If you accelerate a policy delivery which is already failing, and we know energy costs just keep going up, gas over 30%, electricity over 30%, even the market operator is saying costs will only go up, the discussion at the table should in fact be trying to answer a different question, which is what is the cheapest electricity grid that we can deliver to households and to families.
Well, it's more generation, isn't it? That's what we need, more generation.
Well, more generation ultimately, because demand's going to go up and AI and data centres and so forth, but that's not the key. The key objective is we must get prices down. And of course you've got reliability and you've got the decarbonisation agenda. But that's a real issue here, because if we're talking about, trying to get more capital from superannuation funds, we are talking about skewing skills and development, we are talking about skewing approvals, all to accelerate the delivery of an energy plan, which is making Australia more expensive to do business in. That doesn't solve for living standards. It makes it worse, not better.
Made this clear around the table?
Yes, I have a couple of times, Jane.
And this has been the main contribution you've made around the energy transition and the need to change the course we're on?
I've made a few contributions. I think everything I've said to you, I've said in the room. I like to be consistent with what you say in the room is what you say outside of the room. So everything I've said to you is what I've said also in the room.
And can I just quickly go back to the issue, and notwithstanding energy being a huge issue and will be a defining issue, I think, of at least the next decade, but just back on the EPA, we know that mining groups have shifted slightly, that they're comfortable with the idea now of an EPA, provided that the minister has the final say or call-in powers or can override whatever the EPA says. Is that a principle that you would be in support of? Oh,
look, Jane, to be honest, I probably won't lay out the principles now. We'll go through our usual process for doing so. I think what I have seen, whether it be mining projects, whether it be gas projects, and some of the renewables projects, is that the approval process gets so tied up, especially on gas, for example. They don't know where the stakeholder list finishes. The process is, again, not time-bound, and so that leads to uncertainty. And uncertainty basically makes your project more expensive. So if you're going to make a decision as a business to close the deal, final investment decision, then you look at your spreadsheet and all the little numbers in the cells, well, they change the longer the process goes for. And so what business is after is certainty, and certainty is something that these guys haven't been delivering. They didn't deliver it last term, which is why sovereign risk has gone up, the costs of projects have gone up. And
can I ask you about a road user charge? Of course, Paul Fletcher, when you guys were in government, tried, the Nats blew up and you pulled back on it.
Now, David.
Well, that's what happened. Am I wrong?
Now, David. I'm not talking about our internals. Yeah.
But now it's back on the table. I'm told in the room today, Matt Common, the CBA boss, said this is uncontroversial. Ken Henry said it's a fantastic idea. Are you now on board?
Well, we actually haven't gone through how we're going to deal with different charges and taxes in detail.
The principle of a road user charge?
We haven't done that in detail. There's no doubt people say a lot of things around the table, but so my general view, my instinctive view, is we believe in lower, simpler, fairer taxes. When it comes to charges, the fairer part of that belief system kicks in. Everybody who drives on the roads, well, they should be responsible for contributing to the upkeep,
including the electric
of those roads, including people who drive EVs. So as a basic principle, you use the roads, well, you should make a contribution.
Sounds like there's some room to negotiate there. Teddy Bryan, unfortunately, we've run out of time, so we've got to let you go. But
thank you, Jane. Thanks very much,
Thanks
David.
so much.
Cheers.